Hello aspirants, welcome to FocusPrep Current Affairs. Today in a very short session we are going to discuss about the Indus Water Treaty, because this was a lot in news recently, right? This Indus Water Treaty was put into abeyance currently by India, that is, it was put into a pause. India has said that it will not follow it will not obligate the Indus Water Treaty anymore, owing to the terrorist attack that took place in Pahalgam. I hope you all are aware about it, right? About the terrorist attack that took place. It was a very heinous crime by some terrorists, right? So, since this Indus Water Treaty, this was in news, let's talk about from an exam perspective strictly what this Indus Water Treaty is and what you need to remember for your exams. Okay. So first thing first, the Indus River system, right? The Indus River, it flows to the northwest of India and it comprises mainly of the 5 tributaries, right? So what are they? It is the Jhelum, the Chenab, the Ravi, Satluj and Biash, right? So these are the 5 tributaries of Indus River that flows, right? So in the northwest of India. So since independence, there has been a dispute regarding the share of these waters. So to resolve that, World Bank, you know about World Bank, it's an international organization. So World Bank had mediated this Indus Water Treaty. Mediated means that they have resolved the issue of dispute. Okay, and after a lot of talks that was held between India and Pakistan, mediated by World Bank, finally the Indus Water Treaty was signed in 1960. So from exam perspective, first important point that you need to remember is that it was signed in 1960 between India and Pakistan, and who mediated it? World Bank. This is the very important point that you have to remember. Now let's see what this Indus Water Treaty says. How are the waters shared between India and Pakistan? So it allocates the eastern rivers, Ravi, Bias and Satluj, which are the eastern rivers, to India. Okay, completely used by India. Okay, unrestricted use. Next is about the western rivers. The western rivers are the Indus, Jhelum and Chenab. Now Indus, Jhelum and Chenab, they were allocated to Pakistan with some restricted use provisions for India. So India can use Indus, Jhelum and Chenab's waters as well, but there are some restrictions to it. So see, India can use for which purposes these rivers, the waters from these rivers, for non-consumptive uses. Non-consumptive uses means which ones? Navigation, timber floating, fishing, flood protection, okay, and also for some domestic usages like agriculture and hydroelectric power generation. Okay, so these for these purposes India can use these 3 rivers. So these were permitted by the Indus Water Treaty. Okay, and according to the treaty, India therefore controls approximately 30% of the Indus river system water. Okay, the rest 70% it is totally managed by Pakistan itself. Okay, now what happens if suppose there is a dispute regarding this Indus Water Treaty? If there is a dispute, technical dispute, or maybe there is a territorial marking, issue, then what happens? The first step, right? The first step in this process, in resolution of the dispute, will be to appoint a permanent Indus commission. Okay, so there is a permanent Indus commission. So the first step will be to go into this commission and let them know about the dispute, what problems India and Pakistan, whichever party is facing, they will go and address the questions to the permanent Indus commission. Okay, now they will interpret the treaty, they will resolve these questions, and they will analyze the questions, and they will give a solution. Okay, now suppose this permanent Indus commission gives a solution which neither India or Pakistan, they do not like, they think that no, this is not resolving the issue. Then what happens? The next step, the second step for resolution, the second step, the second step is appointment of a neutral expert, okay, a mediator. It will be appointed by either by the World Bank, or it can be by the mutual, understanding of the both the governments of India and Pakistan, and they will try to resolve the issues, the disputes that is taking place if the permanent Indus Commission fails. Okay. Next, if suppose even after the neutral expert is appointed, it is still not resolved. Okay, then what happens is the third and the final step. Then what happens is that a court of arbitration, which is a 7-member body, 7-member arbitral tribunal. It is appointed, it is set up, and they will, adjudicate, they will legally resolve the disputes which have not yet been resolved. Okay, so first they try to, communicate it through the permanent Indus Commission. If that fails, then a neutral expert, okay, is appointed for mediation. If that fails, then finally the legally the dispute needs to be resolved. So for that, a 7-member arbitral tribunal is established. Okay, now in general, when there is no dispute, there are permanent commissioners. Okay, permanent commissioners that are, that exist in both the countries, India and Pakistan, who regularly communicate between them to, share these waters. Okay, so for regular communications, permanent commissioners are there in place, but if there is some dispute, then these three steps are followed to resolve it. Okay, now another important point is that transboundary rivers and its connected groundwaters, how to share them, these all are now, they are based on the Helsinki rules of 1966. So how to regulate, how to share the transboundary rivers. Transboundary means inter-country rivers, right? So the rivers that flows through more than one country, through two or multiple countries. So if you see this term in your exam, Helsinki rules, what is it associated with? It is associated with regulation of transboundary river water distribution. Okay. Now the United Nations have also passed the UN Convention on Law of Non-Navigational Uses of International Watercourses in 1997. And this convention, it gives a global legal framework for the cooperation on shared rivers, okay, shared water sources. So this was passed in 1997. So just remember this point as well, that the UN Convention on Law of Non-Navigational Uses of International Watercourses was passed in the year 1997 by the United Nations. So this is all that you need to remember from the exam perspective. The year when Indus Water Treaty was signed, the mediator who helped sign this, okay, and how these rivers are allocated, and which rivers India completely it belongs to India, and which rivers India can use from the western rivers, and for what purposes can they use it. Okay, so India approximately uses 30% of the Indus river system water. Okay, so remember this much and all these three steps in dispute resolution. So I hope that it was clear how the Indus Water Treaty was signed and how it functions. Thank you everyone.